Welcome to Wednesday Walks Together. My name is Mark Long, rector of the parish of St Andrew in Newlands, Cape Town. I had the joy of being able to disconnect for a few days last week, and my wife Dawn and I were able to go and enjoy a few days away in McGregor. Really was superb to wake up to a different view, a different room, a different home, and to experience life a little differently. It's amazing how, as we've kind of negotiated the last 4 months of lockdown and all the uncertainty that it has brought and the uncertainty that continues to hold our lives, to kind of just step out into a space that allowed time for reflection, for reading, for talking, for reconnecting, was really, really special. And I would encourage you. It's difficult at the moment. Lockdown regulations don't allow ease of movement, and certainly B&Bs and other things aren't available for leisure. But there are ways that one can find this space, and I really would encourage you to do that. For myself, it has been life-giving, wearing or fast, but good to do. Part of my journey, and I think you've been aware of this over lockdown, has been with the Irish poet and theologian Padraig Ó Tuama. And I've been drawn a lot of courage and strength from his book, Daily Prayers with the Corrymeela Community. But I've been reading another book of his over this time too, and in the 4 days I was away, had an opportunity to read a lot more of it. It's called In the Shelter: Finding a Home in the World. And perhaps it's just the nature of where we are in these uncertain times in this new context. But finding a way, it's a book that, with that title, Finding a Way in the World, Finding a Home in the World, has been really helpful. And he has a wonderful way in the book of saying hello to uncertainty, hello to home, hello to here, hello to pain, hello to difficulty, and reflects around that. But I found that hello really quite life-giving, actually saying, let me greet this emotion, this place, this whatever it might be. Let me greet it and make it part of who I am and where I am, and part of the home that I find myself in at this particular point. It may sound a little strange, and you perhaps need to read the book to get the sense of what I'm talking about. But it's a book where he reflects too, or the bit I've just read, around his interaction with the Corrymeela community in Belfast in Northern Ireland, a community working since the mid-60s around peace in that part of our world. And a lot of the work that he's been involved in is getting people to talk together, and particularly working with both Catholics and Protestants, and the difficulties of the Northern Ireland context that brings. And for himself, having been born in the South, still feeling somewhat lost in the North, because actually the Northern culture is different, and trying to find his own sense of home in that new space. And the difficulties, of course, of trying to make friends when we don't understand each other, when we don't maybe even like each other, or want to be around each other. But so much of the book touches on storytelling, telling my story, hearing your story, and ultimately building a new story together. And critical, I think, as we deal with some of the difficulties that are clear in or have become clear under this pandemic, the rifts in our society, not just in South Africa, but in the world. And finding ways to tell our stories, and having the courage to truly listen to the other person's story. And even more courageously, perhaps, actually committing to building a new story together. And so much of what Padraig shares, I've just found helpful on that particular journey. So I don't know where you find yourself today, what walk you're on, what journey you're on. There will be similarities to mine, because we're all experiencing lockdown in some form or another. But we're unique, we're individuals, we have different outlooks on life. And I'm realizing the huge challenge at the moment is to acknowledge my outlook, but also to hear yours and to find ways to journey alongside each other. And it's not easy. The Corrymeela community in Northern Ireland certainly struggles and has struggled over nearly 50 years with that challenge. In South Africa, since forever, these challenges have been around with colonialism, apartheid, and the ongoing challenges since '94 in trying to build a new nation, but being tripped up continuously by the past and by attitudes that are hurtful and that push us apart rather than drawing us together. And so I've just been struck that one of the needs for deep prayer at the moment, and coming out of that prayer action, is finding ways to hear each other, to journey together in new ways within the new context we find ourselves. We live now in constant uncertainty, and the challenges of our differences always bring uncertainty too. And so to allow God to just enfold that, to hold that, to lead us and to guide us in it, to give us courage for the journey and to walk with us. So I'd like to read you just 2 verses of a poem in the middle of Padraig Ó Tuama's book. It's entitled In the Name, but just 2 verses. The first says, "In the name of solitude, of quiet and holy reflection, in the name of the lost, the lonely, and the without direction, in the name of the early and the late, and the wholly ineffectual, in the name of the straight and the queer, transgender and bisexual." And then the last verse, "In the name of the named and the unnamed, and the names of the nameless, in the name of the prayers that repeat, I wish I could change this, in the name of goodness and kindness and intentionality, in the name of harbor and shelter and family."